Hey there, welcome to a painting with Artsy Rose. Today we're going to be painting this cute little puppy dog that you can get on my website. And we're going to be using the paints that would come in a kit if you were to order one. So you today are going to need a canvas and a paint plate, so just an empty paper plate, and a water cup for cleaning out your brushes, and some paints. And then after the painting that you create is completely dry, you can go back with a permanent marker and retrace all the black lines to bring them back out again. So we are going to start with just a good old pointy brush. Oh, I just washed mine, so I got to dry them since I just washed them. We're going to start out with and you need some napkins, so make sure you have some paper towels or napkins. We're going to start out with just the good old pointy brush, and sometimes you can help that brush out a little bit by fixing its hair. You're going to want to hold your paintbrush just like you hold a pencil, right where the metal and the handle touch. And we are going to start with the background first, and then we'll work on the puppy dog. Now, if I want to make a pretty sky color, say it's daytime, I would start with white and put a little bit of blue in at a time until I liked it. So that's kind of how I made this pretty turquoise color here, is I started with a pile of white and then I added the color in. So I am going to start with white. Now, because this is a full background, we want to make sure that we start with enough white. If you do not start with enough white, you'll make this beautiful color and you'll run out of it before you're finished, and then you're super frustrated because you have to try to match it again. Then I'm going to get me a chocolate chip amount of blue paint. You never want to start with too much color because you can always add it in as you need it, but you cannot take it out once it's in there, right? Try to keep your glob in one little nice pile. Now remember, you're holding your paintbrush just like you would hold a pencil. Say that's not dark enough for you, you can always add more in. You cannot take it out once it's in there, okay? So I'm gonna spin that off just like that. Now, I am going to pick a starting point. There's really no wrong answer. Remember, art is not like math. There's different ways to get to an end result, and everybody's end result is going to be different. That's why art is so amazing. It's just an opportunity to be able to express ourselves and get all those thoughts and feelings out and have fun. Like, be creative, make new colors when you're mixing, or think outside of the box. You know, you can have a purple sky. There's nothing wrong with that. Now, in between these ears, this is a little bit of a tight squeeze, so you want to have a very soft touch, very, very soft, or switch to a smaller brush. Smaller areas means smaller brushes, okay? We'll go around and around, just like that. There we go. Go around that little leg on the grass. The nice thing about acrylics is, you know, say I get some sky color on my grass. No big deal, because my grass color is going to cover it up. Acrylics will cover up acrylics. So I got my doggy all outlined. So now I'm going to put this pointy brush in the water and just let it hang out. Okay, I'll talk to you about cleaning in just a minute. I'm going to switch to a bigger flat brush. Can you guys see? So a bigger flat brush, and I am going to swirl my paint on. So I'm making curved brush strokes, curved lines. Swirl, swirl, swirl. Now let's say you want it darker. After you get this color on, you could leave the paint in your brush but get some straight blue and swirl in some straight blue if you wanted to. Or you could swirl in some white. So I'm swirling, swirling, swirling. Now, as you're painting, if you see these little bitty white spots, that means that you need to get some more paint on your brush. It's like your canvas is silently yelling at you, get more paint on your brush, because you got to get in that texture. The canvas has a texture to it, and sometimes it's hard to get in those grooves. So I got a good base coat on. Now I am going to grab just some straight white and put it on my plate, and then I can swirl in some straight white. Now, you cannot swirl and blend your straight white in if your blue is already dried. So if your blue dries, then you'll have to put a little bit more blue back on there and then swirl in your white. Okay, so we've got all of that. There we go. And work on getting this swirled in. And again, you don't have to do this. This is just optional. Kind of makes it feel like there's some wispy clouds up there in the sky. The more you swirl in your white, the less noticeable the white will be. It will just completely lighten the blue. The less you go over your white as you swirl it in, the more obvious it'll be. So it'll look real wispy like, okay? And then I really, really like to do my edges. So I am going to bring color all the way to the top. Make sure y'all can see. And then all the way over here on the edge down to where the grass would be. Now you don't have to paint your edges, but I feel like it kind of gives it a more complete look if you do paint your edges. So I am just going to fill that all in. Plus it makes the painting last a little bit longer if we paint our edges, right? And then don't forget, we got to do the bottom at some point. We could even flip our little guy on his head. Now as you're painting, you do not want globby paint. It's okay if your paint is a little thicker in spots, we just don't want globby paint. Also, never leave brushes out with paint in them, because the acrylic will dry and then all your bristles will get stuck together and be stiff. And then your brush is pretty much ruined once the acrylic paint dries in it. Now, in order to clean our brush, what we're going to do is we are going to smush and swirl in the bottom of our cup, just like that. No tap dancing. You will splash somebody or something that you're not supposed to. These paints are permanent, so if it gets on your clothes, you will remember this day forever and ever, or until you grow out of your clothes. After we wash a brush, we have to dry. So wash and dry. Go ahead and get this one washed. Wash, 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 wash. And wipe and dry. Okay. Now for the grass, if I want to make green, I am going to take a glob of yellow. Remember, you have to make enough. It's almost better to make too much than not enough. And then you can either clean your brush, so wash it, dry it, and then stick it in the blue, or you can just kind of get right on the edge and just do a little bit, like mini chocolate chip amount at first. Because yellow is such a light color, when I add a dark color like blue in, it's going to darken it up quickly. So we have a green now. Now, if that is too bright, like this is kind of like lime green, right? Then I just add in more blue. And you keep adding in blue until you like it. Until you make your version of green that you're happy with. Okay? So once we get a good green that you like, that you're happy with, then we never want to paint with a globby brush. That's way too much paint on there. So I'm going to roll my brush. And then I am going to start at the, well, it's the top of the canvas now, but it's really the bottom. Start at the top and just pull my brush down. So I'm going choop, 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 choop from the edge, okay? And then I'll grab a little bit more paint and I'll go back and do another layer a little bit lower. Now I haven't painted the doggy yet, so I gotta watch those feet, right? There we go. And we could make our doggy look like it's wearing socks and just have white feet and not paint them. That could work, right? Okay, and then now I'm going to purposefully bring the paint onto the sky a little bit, okay? Just like that. And then we'll paint the very bottom. The nice thing about acrylics is they do dry pretty quick, so I'll be able to turn this canvas back the correct way here pretty soon. And we'll do this edge over here, just like that, okay? Ta-da! Now, we gotta work on the puppy. We save the best part for last, right? Okay. So, I've done this puppy so many ways. I've made my puppy different colors. I've made my puppy look normal, like be brown or black. And then I've made it be artsy, so it's a bunch of different colors, not just one solid color. So it's really up to you what route you want to take. There's no wrong answer. You are your own special artist, so there's no wrong answer to this. You just want to have fun with it, okay? So as I'm painting, you kind of think about what you want to do. I am going to grab some white and put it on my plate. Not too much, but not too little. And then I am going to get, like I said, about a chocolate chip amount, and a brown, and I'm going to mix that in to my white. Now that's really, really light, so if I want to go darker, I grab a little bit more, and I mix, 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 mix. Okay? Try to keep it in one little pile. We don't want it everywhere. There we go. And I can keep darkening this until I like it. And if you want to use the straight brown, go for it. You may just have to do 2 coats. So that means you paint it all brown once and then let it dry, and then you can go back and put a second coat on. Or if you want to make a darker brown, then you add just a little bit of black in at a time to your brown pile. Black will take over real quick if you're not careful, so you have to just do a little bit at a time, mix it up really good into that whole pile until you like it, okay? Remember, no globbies on our brush, so I'm going to roll the extra paint off. And I feel like the bottom's probably dry enough. It's not going to be completely dry, but that's okay. I don't want to make your brains hurt, so I'm going to outline, outline, and then fill in. Now, if your sky is still wet, you got to be very careful outlining, or you will pull your sky color onto your doggy. There we go. So we outline, outline. Now, in these tight spaces, remember, it's a super soft touch, or it is a smaller brush. Smaller brushes never hurt anything. It might take a little bit longer to paint it all in using a smaller brush, but it definitely doesn't hurt to use a smaller brush, because that way you're not getting out of the lines. Sometimes kids will get really down on themselves if they get out of the lines, and just remind them that it can be fixed. A cool little trick, like say I accidentally, like my hand slips and I accidentally paint my sky, right? All you have to do, because the sky is probably dry, is wrap your napkin around your finger, dip it in your water, and then rub, 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 and you can get that off. As long as the acrylic paint underneath it is dry, it'll actually just stay put on the canvas. It won't rub off with your 𝗀𝗲𝗍 that you're trying to rub off, if that makes sense. There we go. Little bit of outlining. So we are a dog family. We have no, we don't have lots of dogs. We have 2 dogs. We have 2 pugs. Growing up, I've had a lot of different dogs. We never had a lot at once, but you know, when you're old like me, you've had a lot of different dogs. Okay, so I'm going to leave the spot between the face white and the muzzle. Is that what you call that, maybe? White. I am going to go ahead and paint this part brown very carefully. Remember, very careful. This part is the collar, so we're not going to paint that. I'm going to leave the belly white and the feet white. So I just have the legs to paint. Okay. Now, of course, your doggy is your creation, so you use whatever colors you want to. Okay. There we go. All right, so I am getting my doggy all filled in. Painting is not a fast process, or it really shouldn't be. It should be a slow, thoughtful process. Gentle, no rushing, just enjoying the process, right? Just relaxing and enjoying the process. There we go. Okay. There, we got the little tail. Okay, now I am going to let my brown dry a little bit, and I'm going to work on a couple other areas, and then I'm going to come back to my brown and show you how to do a few little spots if you want to. So we smush and swirl our brush, we wipe on the inside, and then we dry, dry, dry. And if your napkin gets too wet, it obviously is not going to dry your brush anymore, so you might have to get another one, okay? I usually double up my napkins, so that way I have two at once so it can soak in more water. Now I may want to switch to my smaller brush to paint the rest. Say I want to make a pink. We take white and a little bit of red at a time until we make a pink we like. So white and red makes pink. Okay. You could do the nose pink, or of course you could do the nose black. My doggy's noses are black. And then I could add some more red to it to make it darker. So instead of adding it to the whole pile, I just added a little bit over here to the side. And then instead of painting, because it's so small, you almost are just going to dab the color in there. Just dab it in. And now we got a little tongue hanging out, right? Now remember, if we accidentally paint our Sharpie lines, it doesn't matter because you have your own permanent marker and you can go back and retrace those after it's dry, not while it's wet. Okay, maybe today we have a bright red color. Slow and steady using your pointy brush, we are going to outline, outline. Whoop. There. And maybe I want to make that tag yellow. The yellow is really bright, so if you don't want it to be that bright, you can always mix some yellow and white together. Or a little fun fact is purple and yellow are complementary colors. So I can put a little bit of purple at a time into my yellow and mix it up just a little bit at a time and mix it up. And I'm going to get more of a mustardy yellow or a golden yellow if you want. A lot of kids will want to add a sun to the sky. If you decide to do that, mix yellow and white together so our yellow is not so see-through. Then you can paint a sun on top. If you just paint straight yellow right on top of this, yellow and blue makes green, so it's going to look green, okay? So you mix yellow and white together, then paint your sun. All right, now I want to show you all a cool little trick. You can use your brush handle. So this is the baby brush. Dip it straight in your white paint and you can put a little shine right in the eye. Just like that. A little shine right in the eye. Okay? That's kind of a fun little trick to bring it to life and to make a perfect little circle. Now the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my brown I made. And in the side of the brown, I'm going to mix some more brown so that I make a darker brown. Maybe a little bit more. Okay. Now my doggy may not be dry enough for this, but we're going to find out. I am going to make some little spots. Now my doggy's not quite dry enough, so you may want to make sure your doggy's dry, and that way your spots will show up better. Putting wet paint on top of wet paint, sometimes the paint will just cut right through. Sometimes that paint will just cut right through and it won't lay on top. So it's easier, instead of fighting it or like trying to put your paint on super thick, sometimes it's easier just to let it dry and then put it on there. Maybe a little spot on the arm and the leg. Just like this. Okay. Oop. There we go. So there is my doggy with the spots. If any area is see-through, you can always go back after it's dry, add a second coat. And then after this is completely dry, you can go back with your permanent marker, retrace all the Sharpie lines, and it looks fabulous. I think that you will love it. So there is my sweet little puppy dog. Thank you guys so much for painting with me. I enjoyed it, and I cannot wait to do some more art with you.